welcome everyone to Dave Cooper Live. Whether you are a commercial or residential home builder or remodeler, chances are you're dealing with major headaches. Why is building so hard? Please welcome today's guest, Sam Rashkin, author of Housing 2.0, and according to some, he is the father of Energy Star, who says that builders today are dealing with a convergence of 5 major crises. What are they now and what looms ahead? Today we explore top reasons why builders hate to build and how you can take advantage of the housing disruptions looming ahead in order to optimize the design and performance experience of your homes and buildings. This is the how-to guide for any builder who wants to build it better. But first, we have to thank our sponsors.
Stream Modular, the only logistics company you need to transport your mods, pods, and panels. Our friends at Stream Modular are investing $50 million over the next 25 years to build the technology, solutions, and trailers needed to handle and transport the projects of today and meet the demands of tomorrow. Reach out to their team at streammodular.com to discuss your next project. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Brave Control Solutions, where offsite manufacturing systems that do more than just improve productivity. They have a unique approach to industrialized construction, a lineup of flexible automation systems specifically designed for the construction industry, empowered by CAD to Fab, and turnkey solutions for 3D volumetric assembly, structural insulated panels, finished wall assemblies, MEP component processing, assembly, kitting, and storage. Learn more at thinkbrave.com.
All right, once again, a big shout out to all of our sponsors. We cannot bring you any of these informative conversations without them. So with that, make sure you go and say hello. Check out their websites, give them a call, tell them you saw them right here on Dave Cooper Live. Now, with that said, let's bring in our good friend, Sam Rashkin. Hey, Sam, how are you?
Excellent. How you doing, Dave?
Man, I'm doing amazing. Thank you for asking. It's Great. Monday, which means we still have 4.5 days left to keep building it better, Sam, right? So I don't dread Mondays. I look forward to the work ahead. We got a lot to do to get this industry where it needs to be, right?
Well, I see it the same way.
Well, I tell you what, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. If you would, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, Sam, or we will call somebody from your household and have them come on the show. And that does get quite embarrassing because it's happened, but you only have about 1.5 minutes to do it. The floor is yours.
Oh, great. You know, I'm an architect by training, practicing architect, but I got very engaged and passionate about high performance buildings. So I sought my way through getting into first state programs in California, then national programs in Washington, D.C., Energy Star Certified Home and DOE Zero Energy Ready Home. Those 2 programs now have over 2.5 million certifications. Virtually by voluntarily engaging the industry to do high performance, those 2 programs have transformed the entire nation's energy codes. If you look at the latest IECC codes, we are marching towards zero energy enclosures as part of the basic code level. So this is really amazing transformation that happened from 2 voluntary programs, and very proudly, I'll tell you, they were run on shoestring budgets with very small staffs. We kind of walked the talk. If we were asking a third of $1 trillion industry to be lean and efficient, we felt the programs should work the same way. And now I work with industry, helping bring innovation to the market and continuing the work we learned and lessons learned from those programs. So that's it in hopefully less than 1.5 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, you rocked it, man. So Sam, let's kind of talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about how we're fixing the industry, but I think maybe we should talk about housing 2.0 workshops with Green Building Media that you have coming up on October 19th. Like, what are you doing now? Where are we headed to, and what are you trying to achieve?
Like I mentioned, my focus right now is to bring innovation to the housing industry, either through direct work with clients and consultants, training, workshops, any way I can kind of share, I think, what has been a privilege to really witness, observe the entire nation's housing industry from across the entire country, thousands and thousands of homes and mystery shopping. I personally have been engaged with, again, thousands of housing professionals. And so this was a privilege to really gain a lot of insight about how housing can be optimized. And more importantly, why now is a critical moment when all these crises are converging on the industry to share what I believe is a real important perspective that change is coming in a very big way, almost disruptive change. And I think the whole entire industry needs to kind of prepare for all those difficult challenges kind of looming ahead.
Yeah, and so let's talk about some of the challenges we're faced right now, right? One of them being affordability. Um,
Huge.
yeah, I mean, so how are we going to get over that hurdle?
Well, first, let's understand why affordability is a crisis. What's happened is while incomes have stayed almost flat for the last 30, 40 years, with some slight increase negated by, in fact, the inflation that we've been experiencing, housing appreciation and prices have been going up exponentially. So what happens is when income stays flat and housing prices are increasing, you have this incredibly widening gap between price and income to the point right now where it's a complete disconnect. You know, the median uh, income you need to afford a house today is 2 times the median household income. And it's down to, I think, some of the latest statistics was people in the $75,000 to $100,000 income bracket could only afford 1 out of 64 homes that are on the market. This kind of disconnect cannot go on before you hit a cliff. The consumer has to afford the product at some point or things don't go well. Now, low interest rates, an incredible housing shortage, the inventory supply has been so below demand, has been driving the ability for housing to continue. But at some point, you're hitting a cliff. And if you look at the increases in prices on 3 prior recessions, those increases were always followed by a deep recession. And we're on one of the steepest increases we've ever been on. So if we didn't have a recession, it'd be the first time in like 30, 40 years that when you had this kind of increase in prices, you didn't have that happen. And essentially,
Right.
we have to find ways to be more affordable. And there are a number of paths to doing that. Some has to do with how we build homes. Some of it has to do with regulations. Some of it has to do with interest rates have to drop again. So a lot of factors we can talk about. But essentially, the first thing to understand is how serious a problem this really is.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I'm in the market for a new house, and I'm just mind blown by what everything costs. And I'm back here in Pittsburgh from Connecticut. I thought moving from Connecticut to Pittsburgh, I was like, oh man, I'm in for the savings now. Leaving New England, it's kind of like leaving California and going somewhere else. And man, it was a rude awakening when we came to the market.
Well, Dave, Pittsburgh happens to be considered by statistically one of the most affordable markets in the country. So if that market's a problem, you can only imagine as you go and look at other markets that have a much higher price point, just how we've almost effectively lost geographic mobility in this country.
Right.
You're not in a swatch of the country where where you've been able to benefit from all this appreciation, and you're in part of the country where prices have not appreciated as much. It's
Right.
very hard to move to these other markets. So, and then it had 7% interest, 7.2% interest, and now it's on steroids. How much we're almost locked into our geographic locations.
All right, so we have housing affordability, Sam, and then we also have the trade labor issue. Where do you see that resolving itself? Do you see it resolving itself, or are there things that we should be doing to help it resolve itself?
I see it resolving itself, but again, we have to realize the scope of the problem. And I'm not telling anything to any builder that he or she does not already know. For every 5 people retiring out of the workforce, there are only 2 in the pipeline coming to replace them. I think we need about almost 700,000 workers every year just to meet the gap in workforce that we have. I don't know any single builder that thinks this is getting better, and thank goodness, because it's not. The solution has to come, essentially, Dave, from much, much more use of offsite construction, which was great to see your sponsors are engaged in that endeavor, because we don't have this workforce solving itself in terms of traditional on-site construction. And even with some of the more limited off-site systems like basic frame wall systems, we need to be much more sophisticated, applying the innovations that are really on the shelf ready to go. It's a little bit of a moving target, which ones will be the most successful and the most prevalent. You have everything from kits where you just buy the sticks pre-cut, ready to go, labeled for connection. You have panels of all different site types, frames, SIPs, structural insulated panels, insulated concrete panels. There are a number of different panel options. There's modular systems, which are attracting a lot of interest. There's hybrids of panels and modules. And of course, lastly, there's 3D printing of homes. There's some large top 10, top 15 builders who are doing some developments of 100 homes or more 3D printed on site. Imagine a big printer being dropped in the field and just basically printing out the home. And so those can go 24/7, 7 days a week, and just keep printing the home. So it's a lot of solutions out there that will address the workforce shortage. But this is a major behavior change for builders. They've been reticent to really optimize offsite, and also it's going to require a lot of change on the part of offsite companies. I think very much a lot of offsite companies are only partial solutions, and you got to hope the builder can figure out the rest of the parts that are missing. So you might have to find an electrician that knows what to do with the panel system. You might have to get a framer that's willing to just do the interior framing and not the outside enclosure. There are a lot of different moving parts that are very significant, and that the offsite industry is going to have to figure out, because mainstream builders want a whole product solution. They don't want to have all these burdens on themselves, and we have to get that figured out.
Well, and where do they learn how to do it? I mean, that's the other side of this, right? I mean, you've got a lot of builders. I mean, so offsite is an option. I spent a lot of time in this space, also being a modular builder of 20 years. But there's not a whole lot of education. Unless you come on Dave Cooper Live and watch all of our shows, you'll be able to find quite a bit. Modular
Shameless plug.
Yeah, but the reality of it is, I mean, it's really compounding between the affordability and then the trades, not having enough trades to get the traditional site work done. And then you have all the builders and general contractors out there, needing to dip their toe into the off-site space because they need to get more done with less people. So there's all of these different things, and there's nowhere for them to get education on it. So, it just seems like we're working against ourselves on some of these things.
Well, there are a lot of resources out there, and there are individual associations for modular, for structural insulated panels, for other types of I imagine even the 3D printers will have their own association pretty soon. And also you have a lot of good training just from the suppliers themselves, from the offsite companies themselves provide a lot of good training. I know if you go to the SEPA website, there's a huge amount of guides and training materials and on-site webinars, because I work with them closely. So I know they have a lot of resources. So you're not starting from scratch. I think the bigger challenge is a couple. One is I mentioned again, to the degree that you have to get your other trades coordinated with the offsite, it'd be really great if the offsite world got more and more solutions for making that happen more easily. The second thing is I often find with offsite construction, you have to have designs that are optimized for the plant production process. Too often we go and we develop a design and then we send it off to the plant. We spend all the time to put it into CAD and digitize it, and then the plant has to completely redo that from scratch, and they have to reconfigure the design so it can kind of work with their production process. And there's too much inefficiency in the how we are producing the product itself. It needs to be integrated from the very beginning, from scratch, when it's being conceived as an offsite product. You never would design a car then hope a plant can make that car. In the plant, everything from the very beginning in the car industry revolves around all the constraints and criteria and factors into how cars are made, how chassis and motors and how much space you need and how it's all integrated in the plant, how it's made. That has to happen. We can't just throw these designs at the plants and say, go figure it out. So, and that's what we do a lot today. Production builders, I think, will do that from scratch if they're smart. But too many times we get a custom home, and we want to see if we can make it into a modular or a panel, and then the plant has to figure out how to make that work, and that's just not efficient.
Yeah, and again, you got to design for that DFMA up front, right? For the
That's right.
manufacturing
Have to
and
start from
assembly.
scratch.
Or you're going to rework the plans over and over again. And every panel shop, every modular shop, they all have different dimensions and widgets and jigs and tables that they use. So understanding their process once you choose a manufacturer to work with, for sure.
And can I just say one thing, Dave?
Yeah.
There's zero compromise on the quality of the design and the product itself. It's just being thoughtful when you start to say, I want this option. I want to be able to go make it in the plant and make it more efficiently with less rework, with more quality and accuracy and dimensional reliability. I want to make it so it's faster and quicker. Just if you can save 30, 40 days in cycle time building it in the plant, because you're building it in the plant at the same time the foundations are going in, that alone's worth like $20,000, $25,000 just in cycle time for the builder. And you got to factor those cost savings into the total true cost comparison between one enclosure, a 150-year-old framing system versus advanced plant factory made enclosures. And it's all these things have to be factored in.
Yeah, my good friend Jerry McCaughey always says you can't cut the same 2x4 across the toe of your boot the same way 1,000 times with the same accuracy as a laser guided saw. And there's a lot to be said for that. I agree with all the above, Sam, and I think you're absolutely right. SEPA, Jack Armstrong, we just had him on the show last week. They have some awesome training videos on their YouTube channel and their website, I believe it is. So you definitely want to check them out. The resources are there. We just don't have enough people guiding people on where the resources are to the masses. And I think that's one of the things that we try and do on this channel is just keep putting it out there. This stuff isn't, it's being taught in some schools, but all these architects and designers, most of them are still coming out of school without an education on offsite construction. They may have a little bit of knowledge, but it isn't across the mainstream media yet or the education system.
Just to give you one example of how important that point is, by the way.
Yeah.
I developed a true cost accounting tool for offsite systems. And when I run, let's say something like SIP, structural insulated panels, for a project that's, again, a custom project, not optimized for the SIP production process, you're left with it. The cost premium drops tremendously when you factor all the benefits and added value and cost savings that accrue, but you're still left with a significant cost premium. Traditional framing with SIPs. It may only be a few percent of the total construction cost, but compare one enclosure to the other, there's still a significant premium. That's a hurdle for the builder, not to mention all the integration that they have to manage with electric and with interior framing. But when I get a SIP optimized design with a SIP optimized builder, now the true cost winds up being like $35,000 to the benefit of the builder in terms of savings and added value. That's how important it is when you want to consider offsite. You can't just make it an afterthought.
Well, that's it. And if you want to catch up on some of the SIP conversation we had with Jack, like I said last week, we spoke about that. But yeah, you just eliminated all your wall studs when you use the SIP panel. Oh, and by the way, it came with your insulation already installed. By the way, right? So and all your structural loads are built into it. So there's a lot of great benefits that if the average person who doesn't understand the process, that's with the SIP panel. It's all different for different manufacturing. Before we move on to productivity, real quick, CLT mass timber, what do you see?
Well, I think it's attracting a lot of interest because of its embodied carbon benefits. It's a lot of wood that's going into the structure, and so there again, I'm still personally looking at things like the panel systems, the modular systems is probably a lot more efficient, and so I think it has its ability in commercial construction to replace concrete, which is a egregious embodied carbon material with wood, but it's a lot of wood. When you look at something like these advanced panel systems, it's just a tiny fraction of the wood. I'm like betwixt and between on it. I understand its applications, but in conventional housing, I think the other systems make more sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. But even the mass timber side, last year I had the privilege of being on stage once again at the National Association of Home Builders International Builders Show, and I worked with Mercer Mass Timber, and they are now doing mass timber panel wall systems within 0 millimeters of tolerance. We had to put this thing together at the factory on 0 millimeter tolerance on a floor. So just imagine how much fun that was. But
Yeah.
long story short, I think there's also going to be this hybrid approach that might make a lot of sense for the future as well between modular, mass timber, panelized systems.
Well, remember with mass timber, I have to still get all the insulation into the enclosure.
That's right.
So multifamily buildings where I have floor to floor and a lot of adiabatic surfaces that don't have to be insulated, it starts to make more sense for me.
Yeah.
But when I got to insulate all those exterior walls in a single family or attached house or even a small multifamily, the only way I can insulate effectively is to outboard the insulation, continuous insulation outboard. I need a pretty thick amount of it. That means the cladding has to be cantilevered with nails through the outboard insulation until it meets the mass timber where it gets its structural support. And so now if you start using some more heavy cladding materials, you have to figure out a lot of structural challenges not to have sagging cladding, and the outboard insulation's a tricky material to work with and manage. That's why these advanced panels where I don't have to worry about that, I have a nailing surface directly outboard, at least for me personally, for single family attached and low-rise multifamily, that just seems to make more sense. But there are a lot of viewpoints, and I'm willing to appreciate a lot of the other options.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing this a long time, and I know if I don't touch on all these points, then I'm going to be texting away all afternoon. Well, why didn't you bring that system up or this system? So, it's important to have these conversations, especially with somebody that's so involved, such as yourself. And I think it's great for people to hear, your knowledge and experience behind it. So let's talk about productivity within the, built environment now. What are you seeing as far as productivity? Does it have to go to offsite, like you said? Is that the only way we're going to catch up and do what we need to do to make housing great again?
I like to show a picture I got from the Smithsonian Archives of a house under construction in 1877 in Nebraska, side by side with a picture today of a house being constructed in the field, and challenge the audience. Tell me how much innovation that you can see. And it's staggering just how little there is in 150 years. We went from balloon framing to Western platform framing. We have some power tools and some really good connectors. It's just staggering how little innovation there is. And you see it on the job site with all the materials scattered all over, the extra waste, and you see the thousands and thousands of parts and fasteners and everything that goes into producing a home. So it's not surprising when you finally compile the data, you see that housing is the only industry the last 30, 40 years to have negative productivity. Manufacturing's had nearly double the productivity. McKinsey has studied the actual costs with this lack of productivity in the construction industry. It's about a $2 billion cost to the industry that could be mitigated with, again, advanced construction systems and production systems and digitization. All these things we talk about would mitigate this $2 billion gap that's attributed to the productivity lagging more than almost any other industry. And so all these issues are interrelated, aren't they? You know, we have affordability and you have lack of productivity and lack of digitization. All these things are interrelated, but that's just not acceptable. You can't have virtually negative productivity for 30, 40 years. And productivity is defined as, you know, output for resources put into the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so to pick up that productivity, that's going to lead us into the innovation, right? And that the innovation of that is using more automated processes. Is there more to it than that?
Well, for me, there is a lot more. And the offsite comes in as the kind of the icing on the cake. But the first thing we got to do is we have to realize housing is the ultimate consumer product. In terms of use, nothing comes close. We spend 70% of our day in our home, let's say compared to 4% of our day in our car. Home is where life happens. If you're there 70% of the time, the use, no other product you own has that amount of use. Its size, its cost, its transaction complexity, its the aspirations and the emotion attached to it. This is the ultimate consumer product. And you marry that to the reality that consumers are exponentially more informed. Virtually no one will shop for a product today who's under the age of, let's say, 70, who's not first going to websites and to peer review sites and comparing their options. And this is just a reality of rising expectations. And the user experience opportunities in housing are immense. Again, I virtually have traveled the entire country, and builders do a great job staging and producing beautiful model homes for sure. And the kitchens have gotten more luxurious, and there's so many things that are better about homes. But I will submit, when you look at the homes as purchased and people walk in, move-in day is a little bit of disappointment day because the home you buy has very little relation to these completely decked out model homes. And there's so many, and you realize there's so many pieces missing. It could be smart home technology being leveraged for all it can do. It could be advanced digital lighting and control systems. It could be outdoor living. It could be a whole bunch of features that have to do with built-ins and storage and places for everything in your home. We can go on and on with how many experiences could just be taken to the next level.
Yeah.
And we don't know they're not there because the home that you see that's staged, we don't have papers and clutter and places to put jackets and umbrellas and all the kids' toys. And we just don't see it in reality. We see it as a staged product that's almost a make-believe life situation where people don't have things that need to be stored. We don't maximize natural lighting. We're more productive. We sleep better. Everything about our life's better with natural lighting. The outdoor-indoor linkages are not optimized. And one of the most significant experiences that hardly shows up is what I call natural comfort, where there's a 25% discount if you turn your house south in terms of free heating and cooling. And that goes back to the subdivision planners. If you don't have topographic and special views that are the first priority to constrain what you're doing laying out the site, there's no reason you can't get 60, 70, 80% of the lots north-south. If you give me a north-south lot, I'll give you a house with more light, with 25% free cooling, no glare, more comfort. Everything is better about the house. And we just throw that away. We have almost no interest in how we lay out communities so the homes can just have all this free natural comfort. And so I can go on and on about user experiences that are transformative. I'm not talking about just incremental. I'm talking transformative when you live in these homes. And we just rely on staging of
Right.
models with all this decorating and tricks of how homes are staged, only to have people when they live in them, not have the experiences they could have. So it starts with first getting the user experience right.
Right.
So we hold offsite at bay. Let's get that done right. Then what you can do if you're really smart is you can mass customize those user experiences. You invest in the experts and special features that are transformative, but you get all the added costs that it takes for those experts and special features back with an incredible return if you mass customize these building blocks that you use over and over again. If we build 800,000 homes, why are there 600,000 different kitchens and bathrooms? Um, there's an insane amount of customization. All of my builder friends tell me their buyers want this crazy amount of customization, but they also tell me that when they're in the buying process and they're stuck in the design center, or if they're a custom home client working with the builder, they're down in tears. There are marital conflicts. They are going crazy because of the complexity and stress and burden of all the choices they have to make. So we could do mass
Oh, yeah.
customization where you get amazing amount of diversity with very strategic choices provided by the builders, almost curating by experts. I always refer to Costco as a great example of one of the most powerful brands in the country. And people are voting with their pocketbooks going there. Give me an expert to carefully select one or two choices that are very cost effective, great value, and great quality. I'm not the expert in a humidifier or in couches or in organic food choices for whatever it may be. They get those curated, they make their choices, and they're happier because it's much less stressful buying. There's no coupons. All the tricks that other retailers do, Costco throws away. And I believe the builders will learn that you're way over customizing. You're providing custom tailored homes for people who want homes that they can get with the same fit and trim and everything they want if you have more
Yeah.
limited choices.
Do you spend a lot of time educating these builders? Because I think if people were to say what you just said to a consumer, right, a purchaser of a home or building a home, and you say, well, I'm going to give you a 25% discount just because your lot's facing north and south, and here's why. I just don't think builders know how to say that.
Well, the sixth user experience, or the fifth, there are five user experiences
Yeah.
I'm trained to: community, design, performance, quality, and the last one where the rubber meets the road, just like you said, Dave, is sales and service.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We can go on forever about how much service is left out of the housing industry.
Right.
If I buy my Tesla, I'm getting updates that make it better every month or every 2 months. I have the ability to add extra assets to my car. It may be navigation, it may be safety, it may be entertainment. And for a small extra cost, I'm getting all this extra value. I'm paying ongoing revenue every month to Tesla because they keep giving me things I want and they help me understand how to take care of my car. They have videos I can get into. Where is that in the housing industry where the builder, instead of just cut and bait and just let you go after the sale, they own you for life. They keep providing value, services, ongoing revenue. They have loaded with smart systems. So your home is going to be operated and maintained so that it looks like they built a really great home.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's the fact that we're just leaving all this out is so stunning. And so this is, the service and sales is where the rubber meets the road. If I build this great home and great experiences, I better, just like you say, have the right communication that translates that value in a way that's emotional, easily understood, credible, and actionable. All those things have to be done, and it's not being done.
Yeah. If you were to make some recommendations to the builders that are out there to provide the user experience, where would they start?
So
Where would you start? Like, I'm listening to you and I'm going, okay, well, do I make a bunch of videos now to update my customers? Do I, throw that binder out the door, right, with all my warranty paperwork and blah, 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 which never gets looked at? Or do I work on our culture? to make our building consulting experience much, like there's a lot here. So somebody has to pick a point and start.
Again, shameless plug. You see this book behind me,
I do.
Housing 2.0. I'm willing to do a shameless plug because I don't know anyone else out there who is on this topic like I am, who's basically pleading with the industry to move from a first cost business model to a UX business model. You know, it's one of the surveys I do almost every time I do a large audience presentation is tell me what builder grade means. And in unison, I have a shouting response back to me, cheap. Where did we ever make a decision as an industry that when consumers hear the expression builder grade, the best thing was them to think that left to our own devices, the builder's always going to provide the cheapest solution that they can provide, they can find. That's just remarkable to me. So This is a whole, like you say, culture change, mind change. Steve Jobs said, if I focus on the profits, the product will suffer. But I focus on really great products and experiences, the profits will follow. Something to that effect. And this is what I feel the industry has to appreciate. When you blow people's minds with how great the ultimate consumer product can be, this is incredible for business. So it's a culture change. It's a mind change. The whole industry is built around this builder grade in every form it can take. And I'm asking you to make these investments in the experts and special features, but there's a huge opportunity of cost savings to extract because I teach to 150 best practices across all those user experiences. And every one, if you basically get rid of waste, if you minimize complexity, if you from the beginning you integrate all your systems, including offsite at the very beginning, but also all the MEP and structure and everything else, if the whole design starts with a holistic understanding, how will that product be made? If I use these mass customized building blocks that experts have chosen the best color, the best healthy solutions, the best high performance solutions, the best lighting, the best smart technology. If you infuse the building blocks with all these experiences, you'll never match that if you try to do it on a customized basis every time you build a home. So my approach is that you have all these savings you can extract. Again, waste, complexity, integrated systems, and then you apply mass customization to those solutions. And then we start really going after the affordability. We start having better products. We create incredible demand for new housing because I can't get that in an existing home. And then we create a demand to upgrade the existing homes to mimic all these experiences that we're getting in new homes. Everyone does better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's hop to a comment and a question here real quick, and we're getting close on time. So, Greg Ugaldi, the immediate past chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. Dave, Sam is tracking and on point with the stats and issues that we were discussing last week at our NAHB leadership meeting.
Oof.
Excellent. There you go. Good to see you, Greg. Hope all is well in your world. And I think I saw something come through here from Joel Hutchins, who asked the question. Hey, Joel, first of all, good to see you. How do you define mass customization?
Great question, Joel. The way I like to define it is I show it in action. I have some videos that are amazing that show what happens and all the possibilities when you have these building blocks I speak to. But essentially, it's creating optimized solutions for critical components that you use over and over again. It could be kitchens, it could be bathrooms and laundry rooms, which are the high intensity rooms with a lot of moving parts and different trades and a lot of optimization opportunities. And if I use the best experts to pick out the right hardware, the right cabinet options, the right backsplashes, the right lighting, there's just so many choices an expert can choose that are the most cost effective with the greatest visual outcomes. And I keep using those. I start with those every time I design. I know how to optimize the most important spaces in the house. Some builders are able to do the entire set of building blocks for the house. They have a way to do a 4-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, all based on how they stack building blocks. And the best way I can explain it is when I show the examples of how it's applied. But the builder just always knows exactly all the materials I need. They know how all the materials fit together. They know how all the details work. And when you're using the same expert solutions over and over again, things go better. And it's both in cost, in rework, in understanding your bill of materials, and understanding your costs. Everything goes better.
Yeah. And Joel's been in this space in the design world for a long time, parametric design, and he definitely believes in a systemized approach for sure, and the kit apart. So, Joel, appreciate the question. Sam, we're just about out of time. Is there anything that you want to leave with us that you haven't talked about yet? And then we're going to talk about where people can see you speak coming up.
Great. Well, the most important thing for me is this is so new, and there only is one reference on this whole topic. And the book behind me is available at this website that you see below my name. Start with this if this makes any sense to you. It's 420 pages. It's got hundreds of graphics and illustrations. It has over 350 citations. It has expert essays at the end of every chapter, but it's an incredible deep dive into the 150 experiences that can transform your house. It's not saying you need to do all 150. It's saying everyone needs to understand all the opportunities, and based on their expertise about their location, their demographics, their marketing factors, their climate factors, and their even tolerance for change, you need to pick some subset of all these opportunities, and now you have a brand. You will consistently, every time you build a house, deliver a very profoundly important experience that you can speak to, home by home by home. And so I'd say, if any of this makes sense today, start with the book. It's the only reference on this topic. And then Dave will mention some of the workshops and training coming up that are also, I think, great opportunities to connect with this hopeful movement to user experience and advanced innovation.
Well, I love it. Thank you, Sam. And you're absolutely right. Coming up, the National Association of Home Builders Building System Housing Summit, October 15th through the 17th in Washington, D.C. at the National Housing Center. I truly will be the moderator of the couple-day event, so I'm looking forward to that. And Sam will be presenting on high-performance enclosures, faster, better, and cheaper, all the things we need here in the housing market. And also, Sam Rashkin's Game-Changing Housing 2.0 course will be offered live in a one-day session at EEBA, EEBA, in Salt Lake City, Utah. This Housing 2.0 workshop happening with Greenbuild Media is on October 19th. And with that, go out and buy his book. Check it out. It's hundreds of pages of just good knowledge that's going to help you build it better. Disruption Survival Guide, where you typically buy your books at. Sam, where can they get it?
Again, this website is my preferred choice. Of course, it's on Amazon.com. And I'll also mention October 19th, we start our virtual workshop, which again, if you're interested in, this website's your best place to go.
Excellent, excellent. Can I download an audio version of your book yet?
No. It's a lot. It's too technical, there's too much of it that's visual information.
Oh, yeah, I love pictures. That's why, okay, good. As long as it has pictures, I'm in. Like most builders, we're visual people. We work with our hands.
I communicate and learn graphically, so that's my bias as an author. So
yeah, for sure. Sam, thank you so much. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you after the end of the show. For the rest of you out there, we really do appreciate you joining us. So this Wednesday, Jason Steele is going to be on the show, so you want to join us from that. I will be heading to Los Angeles. That's right. Planes, trains, and automobiles. And then we will be back on Friday with Nikki Kruger, and we're going to be doing some BS Friday with you. My name's Dave Cooper. Thanks to Sam Rashkin for coming on again. You can see him in just a short few weeks in Washington, D.C. For the rest of you out there, here's some more of these awesome sponsors that allow us to keep bringing all this information to you. Thanks for watching.
What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.